Welcome back to Z-Speed and thanks for tuning back in. Today we'll be taking a speed diagnostics oil test on our 10th Gen Civic SI. Everybody knows about the fuel dilution problems with the Earthstream's 1.5 liter engine. And we're going to show you how to take a correct sample today to determine what's going on with your engine. So if you're interested in that, just stay tuned. So before we get started, I just want to explain why we're not just jumping right into the oil analysis results. And the main reason is because it really does matter on how you collect a sample from your engine. It's real critical on doing the sample correctly to get reliable results. That being said, this speed diagnostic test is really packed full of incredible information about your engine. I'm not sponsored by these guys whatsoever, but it's one of the best oil analysis out there, I think. This guy has his own YouTube channel. I'll give you a link to that, but he really does care about engine oil and he does a really good analysis. So it's very important on how you take this oil sample from your car so you can really rely on these actual results to tell you about what's going on with your engine and your engine health. So that's why we're going to go over how to take the sample first before we dive into the analysis. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we have the oil up to temp. It's been sitting here idling. We're going to take it for a run. We're trying to burn off any excess fluid or gas that might be in there. So when I'm talking about excess fluid and gas, I'm talking about any moisture that may have accumulated in the engine as it cooled down. We want to make sure it's hot enough to burn anything like that off. And when you first start your engine, it's going to run really rich. It's going to dump a lot of fuel in there to get the engine started. And then as it warms up, the fuel ratio changes. We want to make sure we burn off any excess fuel that comes from starting your engine. Just a little more clarification on the warm-up procedure. You want to kind of duplicate the driving you do on a daily basis. We're not going to let it just sit there for 15 minutes and idle and then drive around the block a couple times. You want to actually take it on the back streets if that's what you do to get to work or wherever your daily routine is, or take it on the freeway if that's what you do. I usually drive the freeway to work about 7-8 miles each way every day. So I'm going to take it on the freeway, get my boost up to maybe 22 PSI sometimes. I'm going to simulate that and then come back and put my car up on jack stands or ramps like you see right here. And then we have a literal 15-minute window, which is the best time possible to get your sample out of your oil pan. So you've got about 15 minutes ideally for the best possible sample. You can go over that, maybe 20 minutes, but you want to stick around 15 minutes to get a good sample. So try to simulate the kind of driving you do on a daily basis before you get this oil sample. So to stay within the 15-minute window, you should have everything you need to change your oil ready to go and out by your vehicle before you even start this whole process. And my first tip of the day is to take your old shower curtain liners and save those every time you change those out and use them for your oil changes. These plastic sheets are great as far as keeping your work area oil free, whether it be your driveway or your garage or wherever you're working in. This is a great way to keep oil off the cement here. I use these every time I change my oil, and I wrap everything up in the shower curtain liner and just throw it all away, and there's no oil anywhere. So, you know, it's pretty hard to keep it perfectly oil free. I know some people are pretty good at spilling very little, but this will assure that you don't get anything on the cement area where you're working. So that's your little tip of the day as far as changing your oil. These old shower curtain linings come in real handy for these oil changes. So now we're ready to jump underneath and remove the under engine cover to access the oil pan and oil filter. So we're going to come on down here, and the great thing about the Civic is this metal piece comes out
pretty quickly and easily, and that's all you need to remove to change the oil and the oil filter. So this panel is very easy to remove. It's almost like a quick release. It has 6 flathead screws holding the back of the pan on, and then 4 Phillips style screws in the front holding that on. Then the whole thing just slides out. So you can make pretty quick work of this. We can definitely stay within the time limit with this thing. You can see it's just one quick twist with the flathead screwdriver to get these larger flathead screws out. And they come out really quickly and easily. They're made of aluminum, so just be careful not to tear anything up, but you can see they rapidly release and fall out of the way. So you make quick work of this. You can do it in under a minute probably. Okay, now we've got the 6 flathead screws removed. We're now ready to take off the 4 Phillips in the very front of this panel, and we can remove the whole panel. So you can see there's one on each corner here. I've got one on the driver's side. Now I'm releasing the passenger side. These come out really quick and easy. And then there's 2 towards the center that may require a little more force. You're gonna notice that I'm pushing up a little bit harder with my Phillips screwdriver to break these loose, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that hard. And these come right out as well. So once you get these 4 Phillips out, now we can go ahead and just slide this panel back and release it and get it out of our way. And then we're ready to go ahead and place our oil drain pan or drain pan container underneath here so we can go ahead and take our sample. So I'll have that ready to go. So once you remove this panel, you can slide your oil drain pan under here and we're pretty much ready to grab our sample. We're still well within the 15-minute little window we have. And before we go any further though, I'm gonna go ahead and show you exactly what comes with this oil collection kit. So let me go ahead and just show you what comes in the box.
What's in the box?
So this is the box that you'll receive in the mail. And once you open this up, you'll have this pre-postage paid box to send your sample back through the mail. So it's pretty handy. What you've got here is a box within a box. So, if you've got 2 boxes, and then you also have your oil sample collection bag and container. So it comes with this little thing. It says scan me, and I checked that out, and you do not have to scan this. This is some kind of product they're trying to sell. But these are the instructions, and we'll go through these in a second in detail in case there's any questions. And then all you have left is a sample container to put your oil in and a bag to place that sample container in. There's also a line right here, which is about 3/4 of the way up, and you're supposed to fill your sample up to that line to get a proper amount of oil to analyze. So it's pretty simple, straightforward. You've got a oil sample container, a bag to place it in, and a postage paid box to send it back in the mail through. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let's go over the instructions really quick. Complete the sample information form online at speeddiagnostics.com. I'll leave a link to that video below. He goes in detail about what to do in this area. Use the sample bottle provided in the kit. Clean the area around the drain plug before taking the sample. That's very important. Take the sample within 15 minutes of shutting the engine off. That's what we're gonna do. If not possible, drain 8 ounces of fluid into a clean container, shake for 1 minute before filling the sample bottle. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do it the other way. Allow the engine oil to drain for 3 seconds before beginning to take the sample in the bottle here, and then fill the bottle to the mark on the label. Place the bottle in the plastic bag provided and place the bagged sample in the prepaid priority mailbox and seal. Drop that sealed package in the mailbox and send it off. The report will be emailed as soon as analysis is complete, which takes about 6 to 7 days is what it took me, and it'll be emailed to you. There's no printout or anything. You can print it out online. So that's what it takes to get the sample. Not too complicated. Let's go ahead and get this sample taken care of. Okay, now we're ready to take the sample. Let's go ahead and wipe down the drain plug area really well. Get all the dirt, dust, and debris off that area. We don't want that dust or dirt getting into our sample and contaminating our sample. So that's why we're cleaning that area. We're going to take a 14 millimeter socket and we're going to break the drain plug loose. We're not going to remove it yet. We're just going to loosen it up so it's hand tight so we can spin it off. Now we're going to go ahead and get our collection bottle ready to roll so we can get it up there and get our sample after 3 seconds of flow coming out of the oil pan. So now I'm going to go ahead and open the oil sample lid so that the container is open and easy just to put right up there and collect a sample. So now we're ready to go ahead and spin the drain plug out. So we're going to spin that out and we got 3 seconds, then we can get our container up there. So ready, here we go. And now, so 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, collect. So first shot I got almost perfect. I was a little bit shy, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it back in and get it just right. I was just a little bit shy of the line, and it's okay. You can go ahead and recollect the sample if you didn't get enough the first time. You just want at least 3 seconds of flow before you collect the sample. And now we've got our sample and we're all done. Okay, once you collect the sample, make sure you clean the sample bottle up real well before you place it in the plastic bag as a courtesy to the Speed Diagnostics team. I'm sure they've seen all kinds of samples in all kinds of conditions, but hey, why don't we just clean that bottle up, make sure it's nice and clean before you place it in the plastic bag so they don't have an oily mess to deal with once they go to analyze your sample here. And it doesn't take much effort to clean the sample bottle up and then place it in the bag and ship it off. So that's what I've just completed, and now it's ready to roll and ship off. So now I'm going to go ahead and complete my oil change. I'm going to go ahead and change my filter. I would recommend that you use gloves for this whole procedure. You're dealing with used motor oil, which has a lot of caustic elements in it, used petroleum products, and just debris and stuff that you really don't want on your skin. So if you can get a hold of some plastic gloves, I'd highly recommend that while you're taking a sample, and anytime you change your oil. It just keeps you safe and keeps all those caustic chemicals off your skin. Before you put your drain plug back in, make sure you change the washer out. I got these from my local Honda dealer, but we can also pick these up off Amazon. I'll leave a link below if I can find one for you. And always change your washer out every time you change your oil. Also, I'm going to use a genuine Honda oil filter. If I can find a link for these through Amazon, I'll link it below, but I picked this one up at my local Honda dealer. And I'm going to use some Castrol Edge fully synthetic motor oil. Obviously, you're going to use whatever motor oil that you like to use, and you're never going to go 10,000 miles, by the way. It says protects up to 10,000 miles. No, we're not doing that. 0 to 20 weight is the one that you're going to be using for your 1.5 liter engine. And I'm going to do something controversial. I'm going to pre-fill the oil filter. I know there's some controversy about whether you should do this or not, but the Motor Oil Geek, and that's the guy who does the oil diagnostic test, I'll link that video below. He did a video on pre-filling versus not. It's pretty interesting. You need to check that out. I'll leave a link below. And I'm going to go ahead and oil the little gasket that goes, or rubber gasket that goes around the oil filter with some motor oil. And I'm going to go ahead and place it back in the vehicle. So just make sure you have your oil pan underneath you, because you may spill just a little bit if you pre-fill your filter like I did, but not much is going to come out because it's in the correct position. Now this pre-filling thing only works if your oil filter is in this position. Obviously, if it goes in sideways, you're not going to be able to do that. And now I'm going to go ahead and place my drain plug back in and snug that up real nice and tight. So when refilling your oil, make sure you use a funnel so you don't get oil all over your valve cover right here, but make sure to use 3.7 quarts exactly if you change your oil filter, which you always should, and that will bring you up to the full mark on your dipstick there. So 3.7 quarts is perfect amount for your oil refill. Okay, last but not least, go ahead and turn your engine on and let it idle for a few minutes before you put your under engine cover on, and then take a look underneath to make sure nothing's leaking. That way you're assured that everything is put back properly and you're not going to end up losing oil down the road. It's just a good practice to make sure that you've done everything correctly and you don't miss anything. So that's it. You're done. So this oil analysis can be a great tool if you purchase your Honda Civic used like I did with 100,000 miles on it already. But if you bought it brand new, then you know your history and you're good there. You could just use this as a engine checkup, so to speak. But I purchased this with 100,000 miles in February 2022. Only thing I know is that the previous owner was a pilot. He was moving to Arizona. He traded this in for a Civic Type R, so he upgraded. And the only thing he did to it as far as modifications was he did a muffler delete. That's the only thing I know. And he came in for regular oil service at the Honda dealer, so that's great to know. So he did change the oil, and you can check the dipstick and look for oil varnishing on the dipstick. That's another way to tell if you've had your oil changed enough. The dipstick looked great, so I do know that he changed the oil and that he didn't really modify it, so that was great. But other than that, I didn't know a lot about the engine health, other than it did sound good and drive really well. So this is going to be a great tool to check the status of my engine at this point with 113,000 miles on it. Okay, when looking at this chart, the very first column on the upper left, you can see there's 4 columns, so you can have multiple samples, but we've just got one sample here at this point. We've got the sample ID number, the sample date, the brand, which is Castrol, the weight or viscosity grade, which is OW20, and then the total mileage on this sample, which is 3,155 miles. That's the first column there for you. Okay, now we're going to actually look at the oil health values, and the first one is the viscosity at 100 degrees Celsius. So they heat the oil up, and it's supposed to have a certain viscosity number. Mine's brand new oil at 100 degrees Celsius should be 8.5 or close to that. Mine is now 7.1, which is still good. You see I got a green check mark, which means it's still within the tolerances, so that's great. My viscosity is holding up, and there's no issues with the viscosity. You can find viscosity values for your oil grade by looking them up online. That's where I found mine, on Castrol. Oil.com, and you just go and you can research the normal values for your brand new motor oil. Okay, the next value is the oxidation value. Mine is 11.7. I got a green check mark, which is good, so it's still looking pretty healthy. Now, if your oxidation value gets up to 30 or 40, then your oil is definitely had its better days and it needs to be changed out. You're going too far with your oil change frequency, so you need to change your oil more frequent. You don't want your oxidation values up to 30 or 40. Okay, the next value is the very important one we were looking for. It's the fuel dilution value. Mine's at 1.36. You're looking good there. I got a green check mark, but if it's over 2%, that's when you're going to start having issues. The more dilution you've got, the less protection you've got, and the more wear on your engine. So I'm very happy to find out that my fuel dilution numbers are within tolerances. I am changing it out quite frequently at 3,155 miles. So if yours is in the red or in the yellow, then you're probably going to need to increase the frequency of your oil changes to cut down on your fuel dilution and see if that solves the problem. Okay, the next values are very important to our head gasket, and that's the water and the glycol values, and mine are both negative, which means cool, because there's no coolant in my oil, which means that my head gasket is still at this time intact with no leaking. If you see values there, yellow or red, obviously that means that you're heading towards a head gasket failure, or you've already failed and now you have mixing of coolant into your oil. So that's the big problem with a lot of the Accords, especially the 1.5 liter Accords, are really prone to the head gasket leaks. The CRV and the Civics are much less compared to the Accords for some reason. I don't know that main reason why that the Accords are the most popular for head gasket leaks, but that's the latest data. But anyway, also the potassium is another number to look at. If you have potassium in there, it can indicate some coolant. Mine's a green check. It's only 1. We're okay there. So that's a relief as well. Okay, the last set of values in the engine health column is the additive package that comes specifically to your oil, and it'll be different for each motor oil. It's in parts per million. Things like sodium, calcium, and magnesium, which are detergents. Then anti-wear chemicals like magnesium and phosphorus, and zinc, and then molybdenum and boron, which are more like friction reducers. So these values will be a little bit different for every type of brand of engine oil. So you'll have to look up your specific new oil values to determine if you're using anything in excess. I'll just give you, for instance, if you're using a lot of phosphorus up, that may mean a engine failure is imminent. And if your phosphorus values are real low on your additive package, then you might want to look into your engine. That could mean a catastrophic failure is coming up. That's just a little bit of detail. I don't know a lot about this area, but I'll leave a link below for an in-depth analysis by the guy who created all this, the motor oil geek. Okay, now we're going down to equipment health, or basically it's a wear trend analysis of the metals in your engine oil. And that does vary depending on whether you have aluminum block or an iron block. But you can see I've got all green check marks with my iron, chromium, copper, tin, lead, aluminum, magnesium, titanium, and nickel, which is awesome to hear. I mean, I'm just real happy with that. And if you look at the very last little slot down there, is wear per 1,000 miles, and it's a 2.5. That's below average. Normal is 5 parts per million or lower. So if you're 5 parts per million or lower, you're looking good. You're going to get a green check mark, and you don't have excessive wear or abnormal values of metals in your engine oil. And at the very bottom, it leaves me a comment that says all results are within normal ranges, and the wear rate per 1,000 miles is below 5 parts per million, which is good. Based on these results, the drain interval can be extended, so the resample at the next oil change can be between 4,000 and 5,000 miles. So I'm quite happy with the results of my 3,000 mile oil changes here. And I know a lot of you guys like to change your oil at 4,000 and 5,000. And if that's the case, get an oil analysis and find out if you're within normal tolerances. This is a great tool to let you know what's going on with your oil change frequency. Is it too far between each oil change, or are you like me, looking really good, getting all green check marks here at 3,000 miles, which I know is quite frequent, but it'll also tell you if you've got a potential head gasket leak or there's any abnormal engine metal wear in your engines. It'll cover that too. So it gives you a lot of really good information about the health of your engine. If you want to keep your car going as long as you can, this is a great tool, and especially since I've modified mine by putting an aftermarket downpipe in, exhaust. I got a +6 PSI tune on it, and I've changed the intercooler and added a cold air intake. I kind of want to make sure I didn't stress the engine out, but apparently it's fine right now. So all those mods, I'm probably still below 300 horsepower. Once you start pushing these 1.5 liter engines above 300, let's say you're getting close to 350 or 400 horsepower, you're probably going to end up damaging the engine. These engines are quite small. They're built for economy, but they do have a lot of pep, and that's the awesome thing about the 10th Gen Civic SI motor. The 1.5 liter does have its limitations, though. It's not designed to be a Type R. You know what I mean? It's not a 2 liter naturally aspirated engine or turbocharged engine, which would handle a lot more horsepower. So you're talking about a 1.5 liter. smaller engine, this is going to tell you if you're pushing your engine too hard, or if you're like mine, you're getting all green check marks and you know you're okay at this point. So this is a great tool. I would highly recommend this. One last tip for the Civic SI platform, and that's to always run premium gasoline. That means 93 octane or 91 octane, depending on where you live. You always want to run that. If you're running lower octane, you could get knocking or pinging. That could damage your engine, and we definitely don't want that. Also, running lower octane fuel can cause carbon buildup on the fuel injectors, and we're seeing now after 100,000 miles that people are having issues with their fuel injection system and are having to change out their fuel injectors. So that's just another little tip. And if this video helps you out, don't forget to give me a big old fat thumbs up. And until next time, you know what to do. Just keep on repairing.